Darkness swelled through the tunnels. Not just the absence of light, but a smothering presence that seemed alive, pressing against the polyalloy frame of the T-800 infiltrator unit. Scanning arrays flickered against rising dust and thick resin-coated walls. The hive was collapsing, each groan of the earth above sending tremors through the ancient subterranean complex. A data stream ran through the Terminator's processors. Structural instability at 93%. Estimated time before complete collapse, 23 minutes. It didn't matter. There was no route to the surface. All passages mapped during its initial infiltration were gone, buried beneath tons of rock and melted resin. The hive's shifting structure had sealed exits at an accelerating pace. Logical conclusion: entrapment imminent. But that wasn't the worst of it. The secondary target still hunted within these suffocating tunnels. The Queen. She had been wounded severely. The initial exchange of plasma fire and close combat had left half her carapace scorched and oozing thick green fluid. Yet she moved with relentless fury, as if each injury only deepened her primal rage. The T-800's auditory sensors had already registered her enraged screams echoing from deeper chambers. It had not been a simple mission. Skynet's directive had been clear: investigate the unexplained xenobiological infestation spreading through this mining colony on LV-221. Contain the threat if possible. Exterminate if necessary. The T-800 had deployed alone, under the assumption that limited resistance would be encountered. The assumption had proven fatally flawed. Within 2 hours of descent, communications with orbit were lost. The hive proved larger than orbital scans suggested, its tunnels winding downward through natural faults and ancient lava tubes. Hundreds of xenomorph drones had swarmed the infiltrator in wave after wave. Tactical subroutines adapted quickly. Plasma rifle, thermite grenades, and reinforced chassis withstood the onslaught, but numbers told. The deeper it moved toward the Queen's chamber, the more suffocating their numbers became. Now, 20 drones lay in molten ruin across the upper passages. More had fallen in ambushes. Acid blood had eaten through protective layers. Cooling systems worked desperately to prevent processor meltdown. One arm servomotor registered at 40% functionality. Lower left leg plating compromised. And still the Queen hunted. Auditory ping, low-frequency seismic tremor, detected ahead. Analysis, partial collapse. The T-800 shifted position, stepping silently through the narrowing tunnel. Black resin coated every surface, slick beneath steel joints. Each step registered vibrations, some from the instability above, but others heavier. Purposeful. Queen movement. Tactical assessment recalculated. Direct confrontation would likely result in structural destruction. Evasion was prioritized, yet each passing minute reduced options. Escape was not possible. Survival odds dropped with each rumble. But Skynet protocols did not include surrender. A predator in the dark, seeking its prey. Sensors swept again. Thermal imaging remained nearly useless in the hive's humid environment, the temperature elevated by biochemical activity. Sonar pings distorted by curved walls and resinous surfaces. And then, a shadow moved at the edge of perception. The Queen's hiss reverberated through the air, sharp and bone-chilling. A guttural challenge. The T-800 ducked beneath a low overhang, servos whirring in muted precision. One functional arm swung the plasma rifle to a ready position. No visual yet, only echoes and fading vibrations. Movement behind. The synthetic pivoted instantly, plasma bolt searing the darkness. The shot struck high. A collapsing stalactite shattered, raining debris. But the motion had been a lure. Another tremor closer now. The Queen was driving it deeper, herding the infiltrator toward the central breeding chambers. toward a pit of molten resin and trapped air. The T-800's logic tree recognized the pattern. Primitive yet effective. Forced into confined space, mobility would be lost. Override initiated. Reverse path. Risk structural collapse for tactical reposition. With unhesitating stride, the Terminator surged backward through buckling resin corridors. Overhead, rock sheared with a deafening crack, raining shards of obsidian. One fragment lodged deep within shoulder servos, joint resistance spiked. Still it moved. More tremors, closer now. She was following. Emerging into a larger node chamber, once lined with egg sacs now shattered and burned, the T-800 scanned for vertical access routes. None viable. A section of ceiling had partially collapsed, forming a jagged incline. Analysis. Temporary vantage point. The machine climbed swiftly, limbs tearing through slick resin. From higher ground, sensors swept below. She came into view at last, vast, angular, a living engine of hunger and hatred. The Queen's dorsal spines grazed the ceiling as she prowled into the chamber, inner jaws dripping acid onto scorched stone. Her movements remained unnaturally fast despite wounds. One clawed arm trailing, but her other limbs poised to strike. Her gaze locked on the intruder, impossibly sharp. Recognition passed through her alien mind. The metal prey had cost her children, had stained her hive with fire. She screamed, a piercing shriek that shook the walls, then charged. The T-800 fired point-blank, bolts of blue energy slamming into her chest. Chitin exploded in bursts of green acid, but she did not falter. One clawed arm struck the incline, the makeshift perch shattered. Steel and synthetic flesh tumbled hard to the chamber floor. The Terminator rolled, servos grinding. Its rifle spun from its grip. Impact imminent. She lunged. A claw smashed into the T-800's torso, throwing it across the chamber. Armor buckled. Internal stabilizers recalibrated mid-flight. Another wall collapsed, partially burying the unit in a cascade of debris. Critical systems flickered. Damage reports streamed in red. She stalked closer. Buried, pinned, and momentarily immobile. This was the Queen's triumph. Her massive jaws opened wide, inner mouth ready to strike. The T-800's free arm moved not to defend, but to the utility belt at its waist. Thermite charge primed. The Queen lunged. With calculated precision, the synthetic arm thrust upward, embedding the charge in her wounded side. Detonation. 3 seconds. Even as she struck, driving razor-sharp fangs into alloy chest, the charge ignited. A burst of white-hot plasma exploded within her carapace. Acid and fire consumed the chamber. Her scream, deafening, reverberated through the collapsing hive. The explosion hurled both figures apart, Queen and machine tumbling through burning debris. Silence followed, momentary, fragile. Then the final collapse began. Supports gave way. Entire sections of tunnel folded inward. Choking dust filled the air, obscuring all vision. Buried beneath tons of stone and resin, the T-800 systems flickered, but did not die. Backup power engaged, core processors stabilized. The Queen's acid had melted through sections of the chassis, but critical data remained intact. Movement detected. In the darkness, weakened but alive, the Queen stirred, her monstrous frame pinned beneath rubble, massive tail twitching. Both combatants broken, yet not defeated. Minutes passed. The ceiling above groaned, one final collapse imminent. The T-800 calculated options. Escape was no longer a possibility, but one action remained. Its functional arm reached across shattered torso, grasping the plasma rifle once more. Systems rerouted energy, ignoring pain sensors. Aim acquired. Through fractured optics, the Queen's eye met its gaze. Hatred undimmed. The Terminator fired. Bolt after bolt of searing energy lanced through the dark, each strike tearing deeper into the Queen's core. Her limbs spasmed, acid flowing freely. Another scream, a dying shriek, echoed through the broken hive. Then silence. Her body lay still, lifeless at last. Above, the earth shifted once more. Entire tunnels caved inward. Final collapse. 9 seconds. The T-800 assessed its condition. Escape was beyond probability. But its directive was clear. Threat eliminated. Mission accomplished. As tons of rock sealed the ancient hive forever, the Terminator's gaze remained locked upon the fallen Queen. Darkness claimed them both. Far above, orbiting silently, the last fragment of Skynet's satellite network received a final transmission. Faint, fragmented, but clear. Target terminated.